Alright, so in this one, I am going to be reacting to Goreshs' top 10 character list that he created. I made my own, for two reasons. One, obviously people are creating their own tier lists and, seeing units value from their own experience, and obviously I have my own experience as well. So I made my own earlier. If you guys didn't check it out, go for it. Go check it out. See if you agree or disagree in the placements of units. I would say most things are probably agreeable. Maybe the ultras people will disagree on because it's an ultra shiny character. People want to see them be high up, and they're just lower on like a top 10 threshold. They're in the top 10. 3 out of the 4 summable ultras we do have, but lower on it than well, they once were before. But do want to react to Goreshs. I've seen some things that are takes from that are on this list that I personally know I won't agree with. I mean, I think everyone knows I won't agree with at least one thing on this list. So yeah, I'll be reacting to it. I'll pause, unpause, blah blah blah. Not gonna pause throughout the entire video because I feel like that'll just make this video way too long. But I'm gonna have my opinion, and obviously, again, if you disagree with my opinion, or Goreshs' opinion, or anybody's opinion, that's fine. It's a tier list. You're meant to disagree and or agree. There's gonna be some spots you agree, some spots you disagree. That's the entire purpose of them, because everyone's experience in the game is different. So if he values this unit more than I could ever value this unit, well, there we go. Differentials, right? And I'm just going to put this on because I bought this thing and it costs, decent portion of this. You know what? If someone could guess how much this cost, try. Comment your guesses how much this cost. But, wait, where's the button? It's a lot worse when it's daytime around me, but it's still cool. Also, this took me like an hour and a half to set up. And then I have a pumpkin. Then I have a guy over there. So we got a lot of things going. Now, let's get into the video and see what Goreshs says, as well as if you are new and enjoy the content, feel free to subscribe.
Hey guys, today we're going to be doing an updated top 10 characters.
Hold on, the headphones are out.
Video with the release of Dragon Ball Super.
Okay, there we go. Now I can hear it better.
Gohan, Pan, and Power Awakening Piccolo. We've seen
this is the intro, right? So obviously I'm going to skip the intro
in this game from a single
little
banner
bit.
in a
Obviously, all of it actually.
time. So
let's skip. Okay. We watch the ads. We support the homies. Support everyone that can, well, have ads because they get their money. And everyone loves money, right? You love money. We all love money. So, ad time.
Alright, so we're going to start off with the #1 character in the game.
Okay, so we're doing it from 1 to 10?
Absolutely nobody. It's going to be LF Beast Gohan. If you guys have been playing the game at, any...
I'll point out agreements or disagreements. I feel like this is the most obvious agreement. As we go down, it'll just get, more disagreeable or agreeable, right? So, if there's not much I can say, I'm just going to skip to the next unit because this right here, I already agree. If he doesn't say much that's like something I don't already acknowledge and realize, and everyone realizes, I'll just skip forward and we go to the next unit, right? Again, don't want to make this video an hour long. I want to make it similar length to his own because it shouldn't need to be much longer.
For any amount of time over the course of the past 2-3 days since this guy's come out, this should not be a surprise to anybody. It's just been an insane few days here, seeing how dominant this character is. And if you take a look at the history of quote-unquote best characters in the perfect character, we've, off the top of my head, rattle out a few things he's doing. Most of the time.
Okay, so he's just gonna, okay. It's gonna be gassing Gohan. We know he's #1. We know the reason behind why he's #1. He just essentially does everything. Doesn't have a flaw right now. The only flaw he can have in the future is that greens will be existent and stop him, and situations where maybe they'll stop his defensive neutral or something like this, something along those lines, or maybe a gauge lock. Those don't exist though. So with none of those being existent, him being #1, it makes sense. There's no negatives to ever use this unit in the entire game right now. So let's scroll past here and move down. Oh, so he's going. Okay, interesting. The ordering.
Let's move on to number 10, and then we'll move back through there, leading up to number 2.
Oh, so he's doing.
How absurd it feels to put this character at number 10. I actually can't even believe this is happening right now.
The androids. Okay. Again, I'm not going to spoil my own tier list, but me personally, as again, check out the video if you haven't seen it already. I personally do not have the androids in a top 10. I think prior to hearing his reasonings, and obviously I'll argue my own points as we continue, the androids, while they are very good individual units, they don't have a team. The best team I ever seen them run on, and obviously Leader Slots does exist, so you can kind of change this up, but the best team I ever see them run on is with free-to-play Cell and Whis. Maybe you run Puddle and the droids, maybe you run VB and the droids, and maybe you kind of had these other situations for sure, but the best team I see with them is Whis and Cell. That's a team I don't value because these 1v3-esque teams, like I see Pan, Puddle, and Beast on. That's a 1v3 team. I don't value that team. I feel like it's just way too reliant on one unit, and from there, you don't have much of a sustainability situation to really come back in a match. It just doesn't exist. That's why I like to use Rival Gohan instead of Puddle on that best team of the game. I just don't value this double support. Okay, if I lose my main unit, I can never win the match afterwards if I ever lose that main unit. And that's gonna happen. You can't not lose your main unit. So androids, for me, they clearly don't make it for a reason of team issue. Solo-wise, they are very good, but the game's not a solo game. It's a 3v3 game. Let me hear his reasonings to actually make it in top 10.
Android 17 and 18 at number 10 on the list. They are in
it is wild that they're like down here, by the way.
I mean, granted, it's still
they are
the best units in the game, so it's not like they're bad, right?
Yeah.
But it just, considering how long this character has been dominant for, since they came out. I mean, they came out back in April of this year. It's been basically 6 months since they've released, and finally we are starting to see them sort of fall off. But not even just falling off in terms of them getting power crept. It's falling off in terms of just Beast Gohan just incinerates this character. I remember I fought it was like a 12 or 13 star android. They were double Zenkai buffed with an HP bench. And Beast Gohan just like one-shot him. Like casually one-shot 17 full HP with his blue card. Like it's just like,
makes sense.
Yes, this character has a tag switch mechanic. They can switch their element factor. 18 does technically have type advantage over Gohan. But the thing to remember is Gohan is type neutral against damage received for the first 10 counts when he switches in. And he's actually able to pretty much neutralize his character because on top of doing that, he can go type neutral on his blue card. He can go type neutral on his green card for his offensive side as well. So he's able to really hang in here with these guys. And I feel like Gohan is probably the best counter to the androids we've ever seen. And with as good as he is, with as omnipresent as he is across every single team that you're fighting in PvP right now, you know, how many superhero teams do you run into with Pan, Gohan, and Piccolo? These guys, like, they're struggling in this meta right now to actually keep up with Gohan.
They are.
And I think, you know, us finally starting to see this unit drop off a little bit is probably good for the game just because of how annoying they are to fight and how just stupid this unit has been for the past 6 months. So Android 17 and 18 at number 10. I feel like if you want to put it a little bit higher, you probably could just because of what they're able to do still. But in terms of this meta, I don't know. I feel like number 10 is actually a good spot for them, which is it just feels really weird to say. Alrighty,
wait, I'm so confused. Wait. So what's the, like, usually you'll have like a good or bad reasoning to like put a unit higher or lower, and the bad reasoning was that Beast Hunt can like one shot and all these things, and he's like the counter to the droids, he said, right? And you know, that's debatable or not. I think he stops the droids well, but you don't necessarily have the idea of trying to counter the droids anyways. But nonetheless, but see, I don't follow the reasoning why they're in 10. Like, everything there was just negatives to that. Wasn't it? I don't... I guess if you want to point out some positives to the droids, they can nullify endurance, they can obviously go advantage with 18 if the defense and neutral does run out, but like... again, there was no positives even said, so I don't really know how to gauge that. It's just... Yeah, I don't... If there's no positives about the unit right now, I don't know how their value essentially moves up. Like this unit here, this is Tapion, number 9. While I'll heavily disagree with it, I can understand maybe because he's on movies, and he is the main yellow for it as like a big reasoning to keep him as number 9. I wouldn't say it's good enough to keep him there, but it's a big reasoning. But the droids with number 10, I couldn't even think of a reason to actually have them as 10 because they just don't really need to be on a team right now. They don't really stop anything. They don't really halt PvP like they once did. They kind of just went down. So I don't really know the reason why they're in 10. But okay, we move on.
Number 9, we have Yellow Tapion. Definitely a character that...
heavily heavily disagree. I think there's one more unit I'll disagree even more with, and I think that unit's actually higher or lower than this unit. Technically, should be lower than this unit. But Tapion, I don't see it. Let him go on, but I just don't see it in any respect.
Extremely well since his release in the anniversary. This guy, I mean, how many months old is this guy at this point? 4 months or old or something like that? Like 4.5, 4 months.
4 months, yeah.
Like he's not a new character anymore, and I feel like just what he's bringing to the table in terms of his support, in terms of.
We skip the ad if we can, but we watch the ads.
One road trip at a time.
Never put ad block. Don't be a dick.
The Haruta Garden death buff mechanic, the healing, the green card force draw, all the things that he's doing that are not necessarily just, okay, he's tanking well, or okay, he's doing a lot of damage. Like the intangibles. I think that's very, very important for a lot of these characters, and one of the main things is his Rising Rush mechanic, where he reduces his sub count by 10 when the enemy Rising Rushes.
Okay. I'm going to stop it right here. So let me point out 2 things. One, on the Rush thing, because I'm not going to say it's a relevant argument right now, but like, it's not as relevant as it once was with Beast Hans coming out. And then the other thing, yes, he does have intangibles. He does have, sealing that he can do. He has destroying cards, I think, somewhere in his kit. He has some nice things. He has a team heal. He has great things, right? But it's just, where would you ever need to run this guy with Pan existing? And that's going to be an argument because this is a unit that's very high value, that's in a top 3 threshold for a lot of people, if not even higher so for others. If there's already a support unit that's doing everything, if not equivalent to better than this other support unit, the first one that's just worse off is thrown away. They are thrown to the wayside because they don't need to exist anymore. So with Tapion, I feel like he's in that discussion of thrown to the wayside, because when do I need a Tapion? Okay, let's say there's a purple. Well, even with that situation, what purple do I really need to counter out in PvP with my yellow unit? Can Tapion stop a Broly? No. Can Tapion stop a Revhon? Cool, sure, that's great. But do I need to bring a whole different unit that's going to be disadvantaged to Pan or Cooler to stop Revhon? Even more so, it's a support type. He's not really going to stop Revhon. He'll hurt him. He'll beat his ass because yellow beats purple. That's how the math works. But it doesn't feel like there's any requirement to have a yellow be brought in when you already have a better support type. On top of, you already have a better just overall unit on your team. And that being Pan, it has to make Tapion just lose more value than this to be in a top 10 threshold. Again, there's no purple that you need to bring a yellow to counter out. There's none, because the only purple that you could say that's an argument for is Broly, and Broly does not get stopped in any respect. Beast Gohan stops Broly more than Tapion as a type neutral unit than an advantage unit, because Broly can go neutral defensively, all these things. And even more so, Tapion support. He does not hurt enough. Pan won't stop Broly. She's a support type. That's not her job. With Tapion, it's the same vein, but he also can't do it against units that he is advantaged to, which is a problem. He's just too meek in his output, and on top of the sub-count argument, he made that. Again, this goes back to Pan, actually. You have Gohan, who is lowering his own sub-count to come back in when units do Awakened, Ultimate, or Special Move Arts, right? You have Pan lowering her own sub-count to come back in. You have green card spawn from Pan. You have green card spawn from Piccolo. You have green card spawn from Revhon. You have green card spawn in a lot of ways. On blue card, Pan lower sub-count. You have so much sub-count manipulation. Well, I understand Tapion's is a lot more freeing, because you can literally just make every mistake in the book, and then you could still go back into Tapion if they don't lock you in, right? But 2 things there. Again, Pan just has so much sub-count manipulation, you can argue that that's not better, but it's good enough to work better than Tapion's entire kit. And we do have Piccolo, who does lock right now. It's not sub-count, so the effect of Tapion being the sub-count manipulator, while it does exist, this unit can lock you. So that doesn't fully exist to counter out everything and stop everything from being bad happening to you. On top of, there's not much in Nullify Endurance that's going to beat the shit out of you just intrinsically to make you lose your Beast on, because that's the unit you're always caring for and wanting to live. Who is it? The droids. Well, the droids really don't have a team, so they're probably not running around as much. Cooler. if you don't bring a Super Saiyan when Cooler's in the match, Cooler really doesn't have as much value. He probably goes from like a top 5 unit to like a bottom 10 unit, right? And if you do bring a Super Saiyan, well, you can't just make that Super Saiyan, let's say it's Gohan, have him revive, Super Saiyan 2, okay, problem solved. And or you just kind of play around the sub count idea of, hey, Cooler's going to do this or this. On top of Pan also lowers sub count to where you can probably swap into Pan if you're going to get sniped out by Cooler. So you don't have much going on there where you have to just like make Tapion always take the rush. I just feel like that is a little bit null at this point with Beast, Gohan, and Pan. The sub count manipulation, the endurance, it's a little bit just like hazy on that.
That allows this Tapion to actually work exceptionally well with Gohan, with units like Cooler, with Ultra Broly. A lot of these insanely powerful movies characters that we've gotten recently, I don't know why they just keep buffing movies, right? It's just insane at this point. But the movies team being as powerful as it is, and this Tapion essentially only being on 2 teams, right? He's on powerful opponent in the movies. That's what has allowed him to age as well as he has been, because he's been like pretty much the best supplementary character to all those really, really strong movie releases. And if you want to put this guy higher on the list, I'm actually not opposed to it. I feel like
I assume he means that's excluding Pan, because Pan is 50 times the unit Tapion is. Like that's just a fact. That's excluding Pan, I'm assuming he's meaning here.
you could do that. And the one thing that I will say also about Tapion before we move on is, if you pair this guy alongside Beast Gohan, because Gohan actually does end up getting the endurance from the Rising Rush, it's actually very similar to Jiren's mechanic, LF Jiren's mechanic. In fact, it's like the exact same mechanic as LF Jiren. If the enemy does decide to rush you, you could simply sack off Tapion, and then from that point forward, your Gohan is going to just have endurance for the rest of the match. So
yeah, but there's not... That goes back to the endurance null argument. Again, you can have some situations where you get sniped out with Beast Gohan. I'm not saying that's impossible. Like, that'll happen sometimes, even with his endurance. Units will snipe you out. You'll get unlucky. It'll happen. But the commonality of that happening to where, okay, I need Tapion to, like, save the day here, it's so rare in comparison to what it used to be. Because, again, the 2 units that are meant to do this sniping aspect are, one, without a team, androids, and then Cooler, who, if you don't have a Super Saiyan, obviously you can still do work, but you're not allowing that to happen very much to you. Like, it's just not being a situation that's commonplace enough anymore. So having Tapion's like that big reasoning for, hey, sack him off to a rush instead of Beast Gohan. A lot of times, at least from my experience, you're either not getting rushed in a match, and or they're just kind of throwing out their rush to hit some fucking damage to get your Beast Gohan's first life gone, whether it be with Beast Gohan or with this other unit. They just want to fucking hurt you, because at that point, like, you need to take out some health. I don't see the Tapion goodness in this. Again, Pan's just better in every respect, besides the sub count, and you can even argue Pan's sub count manipulation is better because of the situation of it's more going to be without the rush, happening in that match. And a lot of people just aren't rushing, so I can probably sub into Pan a lot more times than I could sub into Tapion. And that's Pan getting her situation, her build-up, her support. And it just makes her as well better and better and better as she just continues to get better.
It's a very, very strong mechanic this guy brings to the table, along with everything else that he's doing. With how strike-oriented this meta is as well, I mean, take a look at like all the best characters in the game, like Cooler, Broly, Gohan, all strike-based units. Ultra Gogeta, Ultra Vegito, Dragon Fist. Like, literally, you look at the top 10, it's pretty much dominated by strike characters. Yeah. And this Tapion having that strike-blocking ability whenever he's hit does also make a big difference. So Tapion continues to be a very, very good character, a very valuable character, a supporting character. And I think he actually will probably outlast most of the other characters in this top 10 list just because of those factors. So Tapion coming in at number 9. Let's move on to number 8.
That's a bold claim.
Right, coming in at number 8 on the list here, we have
Ultra Gogeta.
Super Gogeta, a very difficult decision.
I don't disagree. Do I fully agree? I would say it could go up maybe like 1 or 2 spots, but like if you put him number 8 to like a number 7 or 6, maybe number 7 more, I would say yeah. I wouldn't disagree. He definitely is replaced at this point. We can all agree on that. Cooler still does exist, and he is a Super Saiyan, so there's some drawbacks to him. I wouldn't disagree with this. Yeah, let me just hear a few reasons.
So tough to make. It's like You could put this guy higher.
Oh, I thought I did something. No, I just got an ad.
That
I hate Hershey's.
This guy just feels like a worse version of Beast Gohan, right? I mean, Beast Gohan.
There you go. Yeah, there we go.
Beast Gohan is basically doing the same things that this Gogeta is doing, except just better.
Exactly.
Obviously, if
Replace.
the fusion
That's it.
team gets like a major, but it hurts the rest of the team that he's on because of Cooler.
Super Saiyan effect, probably.
Just because Beast Gohan came out, I don't think you're like never gonna see Cooler again. Cooler still like Beast Gohan and Cooler together works well. So I still think that's something you're gonna be seeing quite often.
Again, lose value.
I just like we are now at the point where Ultra Super Gogeta now has started to feel the effects of power creep, where we're getting characters like Beast Gohan just who are
okay. Since
normally that would be the case.
Oh wait, number
obviously
7.
With the,
oh wait,
let's
hold
go
on.
ahead
It's
and
number
move on
7.
to number 7. Coming in at number 7, we have LF Super Saiyan 3 Dragon Fist Goku.
Let me hear him out.
So obviously, with the
I do not
in the
agree.
game being blue, it's a pretty easy argument to make that it's like, oh well, because he's green, he's going to be good against Gohan. Normally that would be the case, but the thing with Gohan is he kind of doesn't care about green characters. He can go type neutral on his blue card when his gauge is fully.
I'm going to be very critical because I do not think Super Saiyan Dragon Fist. I do not think Super Saiyan 3 Dragon Fist Goku has been good since his boost has ended. I do not think he's been good in any manner, so I'm going to be very critical on this. Just saying.
Built up, you can go type neutral for a few counts on green card when his gauge is fully built up. And remember, for the first 10
gauge
counts
takes long.
switch in, for the first, I think it's 5
Cover,
switch-ins, he's type
he's talking
neutral
about
against green types defensively. So in a lot of cases, Gohan doesn't really care about Dragon Fist being green. But I think Dragon Fist is strong enough, especially if you have him in the correct setup. Maybe.
Let me just explain what that means, because there's a definitive meaning to this. Correct setup means double to singular Zenkai buff. I think it's double, but sometimes it's singular, with Tapion support as well. That's what correct setup means. So you're forced to run Tapion. A valid Tapion number 9, maybe that's why he's justifying it. And then with that, you run Dragon Fist. Probably a third unit would just be Beast Gohan, because he's just so good individually. And then from there, in all reality, it's just a Beast Gohan show. But Dragon Fist, if you try to focus him, he could maybe do something. Again, you're Zenkai buffing him at that point, you're running it with support. Like, he needs all that, right? Beast Gohan doesn't really need support. Even Pan as a top tier unit doesn't need support. Or a Zenkai buff, both these units don't need either of those. Broly, wouldn't say he needs a Zenkai buff for support, especially if you have a higher star Broly. Cooler, don't think he needs a Zenkai buff. If you're rating like a 9-star threshold, so these are like at least top 7, 8 units in the game that I would value as. All of them not needing a Zenkai buff, and the correct sub for Dragon Fist would be a Zenkai buff with support, just to hammer that point.
Like Tapion and stuff like that, maybe Cooler buffing up the strike attack, stuff like that. Dragon Fist with that cover null for the first, I believe it's 10 or 15 counts, something like that. Well,
10, 2 times, 20 total.
Like, that's enough to allow him to build up his damage to the point where even type neutral on Gohan, he'll still be able to put in work for sure.
It's not enough. I'm sorry. That's just a lie. His damage is not building up enough, because the whole thing is that Gohan has that neutral defensively 10 timer counts. The cover null is 10 timer counts. So I could literally just be in with a Gohan for 10 timer counts. Okay, boom. That 10 timer counts is up. I go to, let's say I have Revhan. I go to Revhan, or I just stay on Revhan the entire time. No point to not to. And or I go into Pan. Okay, Pan comes in. Let's say he did a blast. My combo disruption didn't happen. Oh no, woe is me. I'm building up support. I'm building up damage inflicted. I'm building up health restore. Then I just kind of keep going in with that neutral scenario. And if you're not making, and I mean making Dragon Fist get his gauge within those first 2 combos that he can do with the cover null, he will not be useful in any capacity of the match. Just how it is, because, again, he wants to get that gauge. What he wants to do is be in after that neutral effect is over, and then it be type advantage with that big boom ultimate. And if he gets that, great, there's his value. But getting to that spot when you're doing essentially air damage for the first 2 times he's entering, because his buildup is not good enough for him, and not good enough against Beast Gohan, who's already neutral defensively versus him, building him up is so little output. All you're really doing there is farming Dragon Balls. I just, yeah, I don't, yeah.
And then the last thing, just to quickly mention, is that this guy is really strong in terms of his ultimate. Once you get that gauge fully built up, the unique gauge, I think even
getting
against
there,
Gohan,
you are not
able to just one.
Prioritizing getting there is the most over-ambitious thing to ever do in the game. You will never get to this guy's ultimate if you want to do any damage with any unit. Unless, again, you're Zenkai buffing, supporting, like, gaslighting this unit beyond belief. Sure. You're doing that, maybe you'll try to prioritize his damage and his situation of doing attacks. Maybe. But why do that when you just straight up have better units? And even more so, a better green to help stop units. Like, again, he needs too much to look good. And even him looking good is, like, compared to other units that are just straight up better. Like, I mean, like, the androids are just straight up better. And they don't need to do as much as he needs to do to look good. I know team issue, but if I'm going to neglect that for a second, because this guy also has team issue, because this guy is not core anywhere, the androids can just look better.
Shot him in the right scenario, right? You drop combo into the ultimate, remove his vanishing gauge, and you just unleash the Dragon Fist, and essentially everything is just going to die to that still. I don't think we've reached the point, with the exception of, like, Ultra Broly, where you can just throw a character out there with a raw ultimate from type neutral Goku, and have them basically almost always live without
build-up. You can, but, like, yeah,
pretty much the only character that really doesn't care about that.
The thing is, with that argument,
unit we've ever seen.
Again, I'm going to be very critical on Dragon Fist because I dislike this unit beyond belief, just because how much he needs, and I don't like how he needs so much. Is that the situation usually is you use both your cover nulls, right? Then you're entering like a third time. Then that's when you're going to pop your ultimate. And the thing is, prior to that ultimate being popped, you're probably doing like 3 or 4 or 5 cards. What if they just cover? Gohan has Strike Blast cover. Broly has overall cover. You have no more cover null, by the way, because you built up all your ultimate, right? You're kind of like already there. Pan, strike cover. Like, you have so many units that have strike cover changes, and just cover changes in general, and also strike cover changes, because this guy's a strike-based unit, so he's have more strikes than blast. What if you just can't get the scenario to, like, get build up enough to where you want to use that ultimate? Because you just kind of, like, raw dog that ultimate with, like, 2 cards done of build up on an entry, you are not killing stuff. You'll do a lot of damage, but you won't kill anything. Especially, like, a Beast Gohan, who's still neutral defensively. You need to do a lot, and there's so many cover change units, when he loses cover null, doesn't really flow.
But Dragon Fist, I think, is still strong. The one area where obviously he doesn't really live up to to the modern characters is defensively. He does feel a little bit weak, and that doesn't really bode
has
well
lower
for him in terms of
offense
Beast
entry
Gohan running around, because
and re-ramp up.
He
has to re-ramp up.
Was actually better defensively, then I would definitely see a world where you'd put him up even higher on this list because of how well he's able to actually go toe-to-toe with Beast Gohan. And that's, again, thanks to the green typing. But it's not like he's out of the woods because he's green. Gohan can still incinerate him. So I didn't want to put him too high on the list, but I didn't want to put him too low because I feel like this guy definitely can still put in work in this meta. So Dragon Fist, number 7. Let's move on to number 6. Alrighty, coming in at number 6, we have LF Green Super Saiyan.
Trunks. You know what? For the sake of the video, I'll say I agree more than anything. Maybe you can move him 1 or 2, sure, but I agree. I think I just flat out agree actually with this. So Trunks, W-Mans, I think he's much better than Dragon Fist in comparison to one another for sure. But for number 6, I went on my tangent of Dragon Fist, so this video is a lot longer. I don't want to make it that long, like I said. So number 6, I agree. Trunks would be number 6 for sure, for sure. Let's move on to the next advertisement. I have no drink next to me. This is tough. Oh, thank you. Goldfish. I actually ate goldfish. I had pretzel.
Goldfish reboot. Out Beast Gohan to potentially just getting crunched by Cooler, right? If you pair up, I feel like his damage is no joke at all. So, future LF Green Trunks at number 6. Let's move on to the top 5. So, starting off with the top 5 here at number 5, we have Ultra.
I do not agree. I think Gogeta has to be higher than Vegeta right now, simply because of a team situation and a color situation with Cooler Pan running around. Vegeta's got to go down. Understandably, there is, you know, Cooler still existing against Ultra Gogeta. There is, I'm not going to say Dragon Fist because I don't value him as a threat, but there is Trunks as well existing against Gogeta. Those two units do exist, but there is very strong purples to stop that. What is going to be a situation where you can stop Mr. Super Vegito from getting cremated by Cooler? There's not, because you're going to have Super Saiyan allies. He's going to screw over your Super Saiyans. I do not agree with this at all. I think Gogeta, that's a fine placement where he is, as like 7-8, wherever he was. That's fine. Vegito, no shot. I cannot see this at all.
Super Vegito.
I think it's way too high.
This list was so hard to make. I almost felt like I had no idea what I was even doing making this list. That's how difficult this was. This guy could be as high as 3 if you want. This guy could be as low as not even on the list if you want to go that far. But when Cooler came out,
that's like a far
like,
bar.
Why did they want this guy out of the meta so fast, right? Ultra Super Vegito.
I want to hear his reasonings.
Beast Gohan clearly is the better unit. He's honestly, Beast Gohan kind of just feels like a better version of this Ultra Super Vegito. But I would argue that in a straight up competition of like all around effectiveness, like Ultra Super Vegito can kind of go toe to toe with this Gohan. He's one of the few units in the game, like one of the 2 or 3 characters in the game who legitimately matches up kind of okay with Beast Gohan in a one-on-one situation.
How?
Like this Ultra Super Vegito is a crazy 1v1 unit. His combo potential, his green card being a long-range priority gaining green card is insanely...
Isn't Gohan immune to his debuffs for like the same thing as his neutral defense? It would be, what, 10 timer counts 5 times, so 50 timer counts total. So, like, at the end of Vegito's combo, he'd start debuffing Gohan. But, like, that's the whole point. It'd be during, like, mid-combo, so he could do a lot more damage.
Good. His Vanish Restoration on his main ability. Like, he's doing a lot of these things that you would want to see out of, like, a one-man army-style character. And with Cooler not as prevalent as he was, like, a few weeks ago in the meta, this guy seeing a resurgence is really, really not out of the question. And the other point I do want to make...
For Pan...
is this guy's effectiveness versus Ultra Broly. Ultra Broly is probably the most valuable unit in the game because he's the only character. We'll get to...
Is he that effective against Ultra Broly? Vegito's the character that wants to keep doing cards to get debuffs and keep going. Broly is a combo stopper type, so the better units against Ultra Broly are like one-hit potential units. Like Beast Gohan could do like a one-hit potential blue card, pop off. Vegito's blue card in comparison doesn't really do that much. Also, Broly would go neutral. So it really wouldn't matter if this were a yellow unit or like a blue unit. But the potential of Vegito is ramping up the debuffs, right? If Broly's going to stop your combos, on top of Pan probably being in the match with Broly, because that's a team setup, blue, red, purple, obviously, instead of Ravagone, you have Broly. I don't think he matches up well at all to Broly. I think he matches fine. I think he matches worse off than other units. But I don't think he matches up well to Broly, because Broly is going to stop it before it gets out of hand, and then you're just getting infinited out beyond belief, because Broly doesn't allow that to happen with his gauges. He just doesn't let that happen.
Broly soon, don't worry. But I feel like he's probably one of the most valuable units in the game because he is the only character that can actually effectively tank Ultra Gohan's full combos and not even care at all. But when you talk about Ultra Vegito, Broly is not really tanking Ultra Vegito that well. So pretty much the only character in the game this Ultra Super Vegito is who can pretty much just completely break down Ultra Broly's defenses. And that does matter. So
I don't understand. How? Doesn't Broly go neutral when someone else enters? So let's say you have like Gogeta entered, then I swap into my Broly, and then you enter with like Vegito mid-combo because you're comboing me. Broly's neutral there. And then the debuffs aren't going to get out of hand because I'll get my gauge, then I'll make your combo end. I don't really follow that at all, actually. I don't understand that logic. I don't think it makes any sense. Broly doesn't get stopped by Vegito's combos. It's maybe if Vegito has like his ultimate, then like you're trying to get the situation for you, and then you really screwed yourself over on sub counts. Sure, like your red's not back in for 10 counts. Okay, now you're gonna lose the neutral defensively. I guess that scenario, is that likely with all the sub count from Pan? Probably not, because Pan's lowering sub count to come back in, right? So I don't really see that at all. I think this is a false statement.
It's very tough. It's very, very tough to accurately place this guy on, you know, is he number 3? Is he 2? Is he 5?
Interesting.
That's
Interesting.
final form.
Oh, Number 4.
They've been handling him strangely, so
Number 4?
we'll see what they do moving forward. But let's
Number
move on
4?
to number 4. All
Number
right,
4.
so coming in at number
Cooler.
4.
So I just fully agree. I think Cooler is number 4. Could see him go down in the future. Could see him go up in the future. We really don't know what's going to come out. Obviously, Super Saiyans come out, he'll go up. Simple as that. But I agree fully. Don't even have to hear anything. I just fully agree with this. I think as we go further on here, I will start to agree even more so. So number 4, Cooler. Cool. I agree. Cool. Get it? Because it's cooler. Funny. Let's go about here.
Oh, wait a minute.
I knew it happened.
Wasn't really that flustered with this one. So, final form Cooler number 4. Let's move on to the top 3.
Okay.
Now this is where things start to get crazy. We have
number 3. Pan. I get it. I'm assuming Broly's number 2 because he said Broly's going to be talked about later, and Broly's not here, and number 1's Beaston, so Broly's probably number 2. And I get it. If you want to swap Pan or Broly, I wouldn't mind it. I personally think Pan more because the value she serves with running with Beaston, but also that's a trio setup, like Blue, Red, Purple, Super Saiyan. Sadly, being an ally there of Broly, that sucks. You know, Cooler can be a problem for you sometimes on your Beaston. Kind of like a bite the bullet you gotta do, because even Rival Gohan has that same problem. It's just that Rival Gohan will change from Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan 2 and make that problem nullified over time as the match continues. But, like, you never know, an early snipe could happen because you have Broly or Rival Gohan. Okay, boom. Scenario has a negative, right? Every scenario is going to eventually have a negative. Cooler can create a negative for you. With Broly, just makes it more constant negative. But Pan, I could see 3 or 2. Wouldn't argue it. Broly, if he's number 2, which I'm just going to scroll past here. Yeah, it's Ultra Broly. Number 2. Finally agree. Again, don't really need to hear anything because if I'm agreeing with the same thing as him, it probably means we have the same reasonings for it. But I gotta mention, as I don't see units that I think should easily, like quite easily, be on this list over other units. MUI, I feel like is debatable if you want to barely make him out of top 10. Sure, why not? Revhan, though, I don't understand at all. Like, once upon a time, Ultra Broly came out, and then people were saying, Revhan's better, Revhan's better, Revhan's better. And now it's been over time, and people understand that Broly is just the better unit, and he's aged in a nicer way, at least from the pre-existing notion that people had of him, for sure. But Revhan's still top tier. Like, if you want to say he's, like, number 5, sure. If you don't want to say he's, like, top 7, fine, I guess. I wouldn't agree at all at that point, but fine, I can understand it. But he's minimum top 10 over Dragon Fist, over Tapion. Like, I guess it's because he has Ultra Vegito so high that he doesn't value Revhan? I guess that's a reasoning, but Revhan's still as good as he once was. This guy can still 1v3. Are you running into Ultra Vegitos? No, he said the argument of you're not running into Coolers. When am I running into Ultra Vegito or Tapion? Ever. I personally have run into, like, 2 Ultra Vegitos in, like, this entire time since Beaston's been out. And I've played, like, I don't even know. I'm, like, top 30 or some bullshit right now in PvP. And, like, that means you play quite a fucking lot, right? And I've run into, like, 2. Tapion, I've run into, like, 4, maybe? Maybe 4. I think it's actually a little bit less. But I'm not running into these units, so why is my Revhan getting screwed over? I don't understand the reasoning he's not on here. Piccolo, I feel like could be an argument for, like, number 10. He actually has a team. That superhero team is very good. It's literally centered around Beaston. Piccolo, even though he is bugged on, you know, taking damage from slice-based units, like Sword of Hope Trunks, LF Trunks, Vegeto's Ultimate, blah, 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 whatever have you. He is glitched in that aspect, and he's taking extra damage. Sucks, but that superhero team flows so well. Piccolo could easily be argued as number 10. At least, again, a mentionable character in the bottom tier of the list. But for the most part, you know, the top 4, I won't disagree. You know, Cooler, Broly, Pan. Obviously, the order I'll change up a little bit. I'd say Pan is number 2, Broly number 3, and then Cooler number 4. But I think this list is a little bit off the rails in some parts. Again, that's just my take of it. Thank you, Motorcycle Man. We needed you around here. It's getting too serious around these streets. But Vegito's placement, I think, is a little bit funky. I just can't value it to be anything realistic. If you're comparing the play of Cooler to the play of Vegito, if they're having equal play of you're saying no play, but then you're saying he could stop Broly, well, wouldn't Vegito see more play then? Because Vegito just doesn't see any play right now. There's no reasoning to bring him, because I feel like he forgot and or just didn't mention Pan exists. Like, Pan is very good. Pan could do a lot of damage as the match continues, and honestly, probably like 5-card Vegito. She could probably 5-card Tapion or Vegito, probably like 3-card Tapion actually, but like 5-card Vegito because he has endurance, right? And I can't really see Vegito's value being that high. Clearly I'm going to disagree in some spots, just my take versus his own take, his own experiences. But yeah, overall though, solid top tier of the list, which is what matters the most, because these are the units you're going to see more often than anything else. The middle, I don't fully agree. Maybe the bottom portion you could just change for a couple units, but it's more Revhan. Like, that's like my main takeaway from this. Like, Revhan not being anywhere on this list is it's interesting to me, because I can't really think of a reasoning for that with the pure equips, with how good Movies is, with even the Z abilities. You have like Drip Trunks, who's giving 53% to strike attack and then 35% to strike defense. Like, even Z ability wise, like literally every component of why Revhan would gain value has gone up exponentially, and yet he's still not considered here. Like, even Puddle I consider over like the droids or like Puddle's flat out better than Tapion. You just leader slot Puddle at that point on like any setup, and then it works. And also hybrids, again, very good. And again, if the argument is that Cooler is not being seen a lot, then you could bring Puddle, and that was the argument for Cooler being lowered off in some placements here, I guess, with Gogeta/Vegito's situation. He said you're not running into him as much, and that's true. So wouldn't the other units that are Super Saiyans be more valuable to you? You know what I mean? But overall, solid top tier list. Again, don't disagree with much of it. On the lower spectrum of it, again, I think a lot of units can just get more respect. But let me guys think of my reaction to Goresh's top 10 character list in Dragon Ball Legends of Beast Gohan's release. And I'll see you guys in the next one.